and welcome back to Mystic Matters. We, of course, are the Greater Mystic Chamber of Commerce, and with me this evening, I don't know why I always introduce Kristin. I mean, everybody knows her. So, Kristin Hartnett, thank you so much for being back with us this evening.
Good evening, Susette.
Kristin, every time we do a show, I always say, what's happening in Mystic, or what's happening, I should say, in the Greater Mystic, Groton, Ledger, everywhere, wherever we are.
Well, the biggest news is I'm wearing a turtleneck, okay?
Yes, and that is, and you can see that times have changed. But for the absolutely, Greater Mystic Chamber of Commerce, we don't slow down.
We don't slow down, no. We have a business before hours at the town of Stonington Town Hall.
Yeah.
We're going to hang out with Rob Simmons and hear what is going on in Stonington. And you know that the Mystic Chamber of Commerce, our offices are located in Stonington. So now we're trying to be very good friends with Jason Vincent. And
I hope Jason's watching the show.
Planning and zoning are our friends.
Yes.
We'd
Economic
love
development,
to
right?
Get some signs, wayfinding signs. That's what we're working on.
We are announcing that here and sort of putting a push into it, but absolutely needed.
Yes, so come to Town Hall at 8 a.m. On the 26th, and they'll serve refreshments. I don't think they'll make us pay for them. They'll probably come out of our taxes.
Probably, but very minimal.
Yes.
Very minimal.
So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and we're trying to do that. We want to stay involved with the municipalities, and that's what the chamber does, is advocate for businesses. And so we have to try to stay under the nose of the town halls in Groton and in Stonington to keep our eyes and ears on the issues.
Right. And just another shout out to the administrative staff, Peg Roberts and Stephanie and Kristin and of course Lauren. Great job on the website and the newsletters and everything that's going out. So if you want to hear more on the Greater Mystic Chamber of Commerce,
Keep in touch.
What's the website?
MysticChamber.org.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, speaking of friends in the community, I look forward to this show because the Riverfront Children's Center has always been very dear to my heart for many, 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 many years. But it's evolving, just like all the organizations, as we go forward and look for funding and more just availability to the community and services. But I want to introduce, it's my great pleasure to introduce back to Mystic Matters, Susan Radway, the Executive Director of the Riverfront Children's Center. And good evening, Susan.
Thanks,
and welcome
Susette.
back, because I know last year was your,
brand new.
We're brand new, and
Brand
we're
new.
kind of a little bit over a year,
We
right?
We are.
And how's it going?
It's going great. It's going great.
You're
The
still liking
center
what
is
you
a
do.
wonderful place to be, and who can't enjoy being around 125 children every day with lots of people to help you
Every single day?
Susan! Well,
They do great things.
yes, they do great things, but
They're so amusing and they're fun to watch. They're learning.
absolutely. They're learning, and you've got a great staff.
We do.
So but I want to ask you a question. You've been here a year. How is the center? Where are you in the community? I know that you're trying to get out, but has a lot of. I don't want to go to budget cuts. I don't want to. I'm trying to be very politically correct, but
Walking that tightrope.
walking that little tightrope. But I know a lot of organizations are. They're hurting. They're having a hard time. But the Children's Center seems to be on good footing.
We work really hard at that.
Yeah.
It is hard work, and you don't see it necessarily. You see
I guess
the
that's
outcome
why-
of that hard work is the children every day and their learning and their families and the connections we have there. But we would not be able to operate without the connections we have within the community, the multitude of grants and donations and support, federal and state grants as well, that help us operate. And our advantage, I think, for from other centers is that we are our own independent 501c3. So we manage and control our own fundraising, our own fund development, and where we go to look for dollars. And
very important.
have a little bit more flexibility on how we can do that than others might have.
Flexibility on raising your funds.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
that's
and allocating
exactly right.
where they go. They're not divided between other aspects of a larger nonprofit organization.
That's very important.
It is.
And I don't know if, as you know, some of the people in our audience know that, but that's very important. But that also helps for a healthy organization.
It does. It
Right?
does.
Now, when I saw you at the United Way, you were talking about some of the various programs that are going on now with your outdoor space. And actually, one of the things I was thinking about when you were talking about the outdoor was you had a tree that fell that didn't it, during that
We did
microburst, you called it?
We did.
The
Do you remember?
microburst.
That's what we're calling it now. Yeah.
Susan, please. The microburst. Tell us about this.
That
That's
10-minute
yeah, yeah.
microburst that
Yeah.
nobody was anticipating. Oh my goodness! It caused us to create a shelter-in-place practice drill with the center and all the children. That means getting away from windows and spaces where there might be danger because of sudden winds and bursts and whatever's going on, and manage that and the lights on and off, and thought we lost a basketball hoop in a shed by looking out the window, and went out and started walking the property and lost a huge tree in the middle of our preschool
Just
playground.
uprooted or
Totally uprooted, broke down a fence and landed on the roof of a house a street over, up, or behind the playground. So there was some roof damage on that house.
Wow.
Have to put a shout out to John's Quality Landscaping. He came that afternoon and started cutting up that tree, got it off the family's house so that they could
Yeah.
have their roof closed, and then did the full by the end of the week. That was Wednesday. By Sunday, the playground was all back, ready to be able to use, except for
Right,
fencing.
so the community story about that and John's and that, you know, and the quick
yeah.
response is what always makes me feel like, okay, so the connections are there and it's so
Right.
important.
It-
Right.
Definitely, definitely.
Wow. So I like that word, micro.
A microburst.
I don't know who came up with
It's
that,
like the
but
new weather, you know?
Okay.
We have to
One
come
you
up
didn't
with
know
new
about.
Yeah.
names for new weather.
Yeah. Speaking of programs, Susan, and we're going to have a couple of clips or a couple of pictures that we're going to be posting on the show too. But just tell us a little bit about some of your programs.
So we have services for children 12 weeks old to 12 years old, and some of those classrooms are infant and toddler classrooms, so 12 weeks to 15 months, and then 16 months to 36 months. So they're spending a multi-age classroom, a bit of time with the same teachers, so they're not struggling with transitions and new teachers every time they have a birthday. And then our preschool programs, and then our before and after school program for school agers, so half days, days off from school, summer camp is for school agers as well. So we're very busy with a wide range, age range of children.
And who are your clients? Who are your
Our clientele are families from throughout southeastern Connecticut. The majority are Groton and New London, but some outlying communities as well. Some of our families, the parents work at Electric Boat. The majority of our families work in very much entry-level, medium-income worker positions within the hospitality industry, the healthcare industry, manufacturing, which leads to about 90% of our families receive some kind of tuition subsidy, sliding
Right.
scale fee. And that's where our fundraising and our donor contributions make the difference of how we're able to operate. I gave the example the other day of there's a good portion of families, a little more than 50%, that make less than $30,000 a year. And if you have
how do they afford this?
Yeah,
I
in
don't
this
get
area.
this.
If you have an infant or a toddler, it costs you just under $15,000 a year at our center, and we're fairly low in this scale of where tuition rates are set. That's half your salary. You can't afford to work and have your child have quality care without some kind of assistance. And so our federal and state grants provide some assistance, and then our variety of other donors that provide funds for our Scholar Dollars program make the difference. They make the ability for these families to work and also provide the basic needs for their family.
So is it an application process for some of these families, Susan?
Everybody has an application that
Okay.
has some financial information to document what their level of need is, and we follow a State of Connecticut Office of Early Childhood sliding scale fee that tells us what the family parent fee should be based on what the income is. And then we look at what our tuition rate is, which is $290 for infant and toddler care and $185 for preschool care, and what their parent fee might be. Could be $8, could be $9, could be $25, could be
Right.
$90.
Right.
You know, some of them are full pay, and then we have to make up that difference.
Okay.
And so that difference for a parent that's paying $80 out of
Yes.
$290
Yeah.
is a very big chunk of money. And so we depend greatly on our donors.
Now, Susan,
and our grants.
have you always been in this industry, or is this something that you just got into?
I have always worked with families and young children. This is my first position as a director of an actual center. So I have developed and operated parent resource centers. I have managed federal and state grants, and I've worked in the public school system teaching child development.
Oh, wow. So that I
Sounds
could
like
see
you
where
really
your
like it.
resume
Yeah.
would come across somebody and be like, she's perfect.
Yeah, she's perfect for the
So,
job.
yeah.
So Frank, we've got a few clips here that maybe Susan can walk us through that you're right there. So Susan, what is this?
So when I came, there were gardens in the back that a lot of work had been done to develop, but one of the challenges was related to watering and the care of the gardens. And so we started to look at how to write some small grants that would allow us to add some improvements to the gardens. So this is an example of a classroom learning what's exactly growing in the garden right now. And this is I think it's a preschool classroom, probably children that are close to 5.
Right, right. You've
Learning
got
a
some-
little bit about some kinds of onions that are growing in there.
Okay.
And then you'll see in the next picture, this is Denise, our master gardener. So one of our grants from Ledgelight Health District required that we work with a master gardener program, or master gardener, to help assure we had success with our
Wow.
garden. And so she has been with us throughout the season, helping the children with preparing the dirt for planting, helping to plant. We had a planting party with families and children, and then watching the vegetables grow, the herbs grow, and then harvesting them, and then preparing food from them. And as a result, it has been such a successful project. The Master Gardener Program selects signature projects that they will support for years to come, and Riverfront this year was selected as a signature project for them. And we are thrilled to know that we will have a Master Gardener for years to come.
Oh, that's fantastic. So it's not
continue.
necessarily this Master Gardener.
She's going to support the training of new Master Gardeners and continuing
I
that.
love the fact that we have a student that's
So-
already raising her hand. Okay.
Right, right. So in the next picture, you'll see
Got a little
they go
delay.
out. The preschool playground is right next to all of the gardens, and so they go out and on their way into the playground or on the way out, they check and see what's growing. So this particular day, picking cherry tomatoes. So they all had their little snack, just thrilled at what they found, as you could see. And then you'll see we also grew zucchini. And
Oh, look at the
Wow.
size of
Those
those
zucchini,
zucchinis.
I think-
Oh my gosh.
I think they were either hidden under the leaves or somebody had a plan. These particular children are school agers with the summer camp, and Thursday was cooking day, and
Those are life-size zucchinis,
They
I want to
are.
say.
They are. They
Yeah.
made stuffed zucchini with them.
Oh,
So
Wow.
we had basil. They made pesto and had that on some pasta. They did some other things with tomatoes.
fantastic. Yeah.
A variety of cooking lessons that they learned, and now know and see what it takes to grow vegetables.
You know, a
the
lot
work
of
that it takes.
gets lost. I mean, I know that there's people in a generation below mine that really were not trained to cook at all, or really get familiar with
Right.
vegetables, or
Right.
Or using, things that are just right off the land, that we grow right on the land. Some of them even that we don't plant, that are just there naturally, that can be used as well.
So
too.
there's herbs in there. I don't have a picture of herbs, but there's herbs in there, and those were also planted around the infant toddler garden. So the toddlers might just pick an herb. It doesn't hurt them to have a little munch or a smell or a taste, and then they're just having a few of their senses experienced with around the gardens. Some of the success also is attributed again to the Ledgelight grant, which allowed us to purchase an irrigation system. So that was installed with timers, and so we were now not hooked to a run outside and somebody turn the water on, turn the water off.
Right.
And that was successful. And the Eastern Connecticut Chamber of Commerce provided us a grant that helped us with the purchasing of the vegetables, as well as some of the equipment in a storage shed. Again, so the children would have the tools that they needed to make the garden
It takes
successful.
a community, doesn't it?
It does.
And it's really a great
does.
community.
The-
So is this the end of our pictures?
There's one more. So, and then
Is this the last one, Susan?
They're
Is
so
this,
little.
this is fantastic.
cute.
This is new also. This is a gazebo, which we plan to be our learning classroom.
Yeah.
And through a grant from Dominion Foundation, we were able to purchase this gazebo. It's the last thing to be placed in, and now we're waiting for fencing to put in. We started a fencing campaign and received the donations to support the cost of the fence. And now this whole area, those gardens you saw, the gazebo, and then the one garden, we don't have pictures at the moment today, is the Peace Garden created by the Rotary Foundation and the Mystic Groton and Stonington's Rotary and the Groton Parks Foundation. So that's another garden with benches and musical instruments in it.
Oh,
And
that is fantastic. Thank you, Frank.
all of that will be fenced, and then it will be identified as an outside classroom so that we can, licensed, and so we can have children out there exploring and learning. I know they're in a safe environment and really ramping up the science curriculum that we have at the center.
I know. I want to go back to school. And
I know,
wanna
and
go
just
to
do
Riverfront
all that.
Children's
And you know,
Center.
Kristen, as I'm speaking with them, and Susan has such a, I mean, there's so much to say. It's only been a year.
I know.
I'm saying, okay, Susan, I mean, it's only been a year here, and I mean, what have you been up to? But anyways, speaking of the families and you know, the ability to send their young children and basically making up the gap, we have coming up on November 4th, your gala.
We do.
Once a year. It's a little bit different since some of the galas in the past, which I've had the opportunity to attend. Tell us a little bit about this one coming up on November 4th. There it is, right there, farm to table.
Right, and farm to table.
Farm to table makes sense after all those pictures and all the work that's been going on this past year and several years working up to this year. Farm to table.
And that's exactly right. We looked at what the events had been in the past and how would we make it a little more unique to stand out, and looking to increase our participation and our donations. And why not highlight what we've been doing? And particularly, we chose this before we learned we were going to be a signature project for the Master Gardener program. So we're just thrilled that that is an honor that we have, and we're linking the Farm to Table Gala to that whole project. And so the dinner will be really what you would expect to be locally harvested, those just kind of real rich, healthy, nutritious, but very tasty, herb-rich menu, live band. There'll be hors d'oeuvres and
where's it
open
being
bar.
held? I couldn't read that.
At the Velvet Mill in Stonington.
Right. No,
Fantastic.
that
So,
is neat.
Yeah.
great venue.
So do we have a
Great venue.
master chef? I don't know.
The Gourmet Galley is our master
Oh,
chef.
the Gourmet Galley,
And
yeah.
so we're
great
happy to
caterers,
have
yes.
them. Anybody that is interested in attending, they can purchase tickets right on our website. You just go right on the front page of the website, push a button, it says, purchase tickets here.
Wow.
They are still available.
And you're going to have a silent auction, and are you going to have a live auction as well?
Silent auction.
Okay, because that works out.
It does.
Yeah,
And so
very
a
well.
wide variety of items that will be auctioned off, from gift certificates to restaurants, tickets to season passes for the seaport, some of those kinds of things, all the way to a 4-day, 3-night stay at a ski vacation home at Sunday River in Maine.
Right, and this is all
So-
part of the silent auction.
Yes,
Wow.
yes.
That sounds good. I'm ready.
Unbelievable.
hungry.
Unbelievable. So, Susan, we just recapped a year and a half of the Riverfront Center in my mind. I mean, it's just wonderful from way back when this organization was first started, and the need, I guess, for an organization like this. Where do you see it going? That's exhausting. And you know what? I'm looking at it, so she's just got this great, wonderful face, and she's looking at me going, "Are you kidding me, Susette? I just gave you a whole year and a half." But I mean, seriously, what else is on the on the deck there?
Maybe bigger?
Maybe
We have a waiting list.
Keeping it very,
Kristen.
what?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
gonna go
We're
up?
still.
Well, I
Right,
guess the need. I guess
need.
let's talk about that.
Address
Maybe that's
the need.
address the need.
Right. We need to figure out how to address the need.
There is a need.
And there's no doubt that there's lots of opportunities for care.
Right.
And all different kinds of quality and all different locations and kinds. But the one factor that we address is care that's affordable for each individual family. And sometimes that's harder to find, particularly with infants and toddlers. We have an infant and toddler list that's double the size, wait list, that's double the size of the wait list we have for preschoolers. We have openings for preschoolers right now.
Right,
so
but it's
3 and
the
4-year-olds.
infants and toddlers.
Infant and toddlers, no openings and a wait list, because that is the more costly care, which means it's even harder to break even and provide that care.
It's a little more work with the infant, yeah.
It requires more staff. The ratio is
Exactly.
one staff to every 4 children, and no more than 8 children in a classroom.
So yeah,
Preschool classroom is 10 children
Right.
to a staff person, and you can have 20 in a classroom.
I'm trying
So
to
if
do
you're
the numbers in
providing
my
the
head, yeah.
electricity and all the cost of a classroom and the teachers, and only 8 children are paying for all of that, as opposed to 20 children, it's a big difference. It's a big
Well,
difference.
speaking of this morning, I had an opportunity to talk about sort of the economic climate out there. And with General Dynamics and bringing in a lot of the young millennials and engineers, and of course, hopefully staying here, get married, do you see that? I mean, we're looking at the next 10 years of this area really growing, probably with young families.
Right.
So the need, and maybe young families, moms taking maybe part-time jobs or vice versa, but generally, it's going to be a
The
need.
majority of families are if they're 2-parent families, both parents are working. It's not very realistic for a good portion of people today to be living on only one income.
Right.
So
Right.
we know the need for care is not going away.
So what time do you open up in the morning?
We open at 6 o'clock in the morning and we close at 5.
somebody has to get up at 4.
Kristin.
They do.
Yeah.
They
Kristin,
do.
think about this for the infants and toddlers, and you're an administrator or a teacher,
That's
and you
why
have
I'm
to
in, show
out
business.
of the gate go to this wonderful Riverfront Center, and
Yeah.
at 6 o'clock
Yeah.
start your day. These are really gifted and wonderful people that work at the center.
They do. They
And
do.
what
and we
is your
have to stagger staff. So the staff that comes in at 6 leave at 2:30. And then there's some staff that come in at 9 and leave at 5 or 5:30. So we have
Okay.
to figure that out. Not everybody comes at 6. That would be really hard to do.
Yeah,
It's
so
a
they don't
small
work the whole day.
population. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
they-
Staff work an 8-hour day.
Yeah.
All within, and then we have to juggle all of our staff to make sure we have the coverage we need to meet those ratios based on what time everybody arrives and everybody leaves.
Well, tell us a little bit about your staff. Tell us who's, a little about your teachers. And
So we have 20 classroom teachers.
that many.
Every classroom, we have 10 classrooms, every classroom has a bachelor's or a master's level teacher. The second teacher is either an associate's degree, in a couple of instances also a bachelor's level degree, or they have a child development credential. So they all meet minimum qualifications for classroom.
And it has to be that many, Susette, because of the ratio.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So
Right.
the ratio being 1 to 4, you said,
Yes.
for the infants and
Yes,
toddlers.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that defines that. And a couple extra for people take vacation, people have sick, they earn vacation, they're entitled to that, personal days, professional development days, so a couple of staff that move around to different classrooms in time. We call them floaters, based on what the needs are of a particular center, a particular day at the center.
Now, you're looking throughout the year, maybe doing mini little fundraisers. Is that something on your agenda?
Our agenda is to look at continuing to develop our partners and our donors and who are the good advocates for the work that we do, because we believe those advocates and those voices in the community will bring us to where the dollars might be to come in and support the work that we do.
That's a very healthy way to look at.
And that the time spent developing a donor and moving towards particularly a legacy will be well spent, as opposed to those events that
Actually take
create
a lot of time.
a lot of time,
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
work.
and a lot of work. I actually, that is a very healthy way of raising funds for an organization. It's just, the reason why I ask is because there's so many organizations trying to raise funds, and there's so many events going on.
It's about finding out your niche,
right?
And what's going to work for you. One that we have continued since I came is the fundraiser with a fishing tournament with Shinnecock Yacht Club. And
you've kept that one.
We've kept that one.
Yeah.
I'm partial to boating in the outdoors and whatever, but it also is something that they 100% carry out themselves without any staff support from us to make it happen.
Huge.
We get the T-shirts printed and the tickets printed and hand them to them, and they send us back a check. And
well, it sounds like the Riverfront Center, the Children's Riverfront Center, is so busy anyways. But I asked that question because typically an organization will come up with a bunch of fundraising throughout the year, which is much needed. But I like the way that you're reaching out to the community. It has been
very important in the past and helped Riverfront get to where it is today. And now we're just looking at what's the next step of a long-term, stable organization, and that is depending on some ongoing regular donations. We find that with some of our foundation grants that year after year support some of our tuition, and looking to grow that through individual donors as well.
Do you have a grant writer on staff?
Our development coordinator writes grants. I write grants as well.
Yeah.
We share that
Susan,
responsibility.
I'll tell you. Well, we only have a few minutes, and so I just want to get out there again. Frank, if you could just get that poster up there, I really want to drive this in. It's the November 4th Gala, farm to table, beautiful poster. I don't know who designed that, but that is magnificent. It's a wonderful poster, and we hope everybody gets out there. And so once again,
thank you to Trish LaPointe, who has donated her services to do some of this design work for us.
Yeah. Yes. And again, all you have to do is get on the website, click I want to buy tickets, and come to the gala, because I'm not supposed to ask about music, but I am going to ask about entertainment. Who's your entertainment that evening?
So Chris Mackey and the Tone Spinners.
Okay, that's fantastic.
I think that's right.
Tone Shifters?
Shifters, yes, thank you. See, Kristen's much better about music than I am.
You wonder where is there
and I do not have that list of sponsors.
Okay, but we'll get it out there.
Yet. And it will be in the paper and listed. And,
okay. Yeah. Well, Susan Radway, it is a pleasure to see you again this evening. We always have fun with this show because it's a positive center. It has good energy. Anything that has to do with agriculture and food and kids and dirt. Okay, we love that here on Mystic Matters. So, Susan, thank you so much for being with us this evening, and do come back and see us again. I'll check with you.
I will.
A year from now.
We're going to leave this with dirt, and I know that I have a curriculum coordinator that wants a mud kitchen in our playground. So we're going to see if we talk about a mud kitchen next year in that fenced outdoor area.
You're going to leave that for next year, and I'm definitely, and both Kristin and I are going to touch base with Susan next year. We are the Greater Mystic Chamber of Commerce. Mystic Matters. Good evening.